Gents, the word for today is higher. So, good morning. It's Tuesday. I don't have any catchy phrase for Tuesday. Sorry. So, today we are going to listen to a little story. So, anyways, I'm just kidding. So, this weekend, I had the awesome opportunity, something that I probably would have never done otherwise. And as I was driving and reflecting on the weekend, and particularly the story I'm going to tell you guys, the word higher came to mind. So I figured, hey, why not share it? This weekend, I went up to Yosemite with a friend of mine, and I didn't ask many questions. In hindsight, I probably should have, because we did a big hike, is what she likes to call it. Let's go and do a sort of big hike. And I'm like, okay, big hike to me is like long time, long day, need snacks. Big hike to her was like, let's climb to the top of the highest freaking mountain in the world. So the couple of things kind of came from this experience. The first thing was, hang with people that have high vision, that see big but don't see impossible. So often we surround ourselves with people who don't see it all or are constantly trying to keep us small. Find people that have so much faith in themselves and in you that they have you do some stuff that if you would have known what you were going to do, you probably wouldn't have done it in the first place. So as we were getting ready to go, we had actually had alternate plans. We both have Jeeps, so we were like, hey, let's go off-roading. That was the initial plan. The plan turned into hiking. So when we were out there and we're on our way out there, we had planned to possibly take other people with us. And in the process of deciding to to hike instead of off-roading, the plans for the other people change. So, point number 2 came to my mind. You may have to switch up your plan in life, and if everybody doesn't go with it, it's okay. It's okay to change plans, and it's okay for the people who are initially part of the plan not to be part of the plan. It's okay to change up your roster when you're getting ready to do a big hike. Okay, so number 3 was the actual hiking portion. As we were going on the hike, and just so you get some reference point if you want to like Google and look at what we did, we hiked to Yosemite Viewpoint, which is a little bit past Upper Yosemite Falls. So normally they write it as Upper Yosemite Falls, but you actually have to go up, and then there's a viewpoint once you get above where you can actually see the fall from the top. And as we were hiking up, you had pretty much like 3 categories of people that I recognized when I was on this hike. So at the bottom, at the beginning, everybody's smiling, everybody's happy, everybody's excited, they're in their cars, they're getting their stuff together, they're talking. There's people from all over the world who come into Yosemite National Park. So as you start hiking though, I mean like literally 5 minutes into it, I noticed that not necessarily the excitement changed, but the body activates, and you begin to immediately feel the elevation is higher just by driving up here, and my heart and my lungs are having to work. So one of the things that happens for some people is that at the first sign of discomfort, they stop. And I'm not one of those people. The person I went hiking with is definitely not one of those people. And so we started off, and as we're hiking up, you see people who are coming down, so they've already made the trek. And that's also a super encouraging thing on any journey, knowing that somebody has already come and gone from where you're going. You let you know that you'll return. So as we're hiking and we're about an hour or more into the hike, you see a different group of people. You see people who have stopped to take breaks. You have people who have stopped to take breaks and who are going to keep going. And then you have the people who are going to stop to take breaks who are done. They've reached their point, they've maxed out. If you are a person in life who is constantly worrying about other people and how far they're going to make it to determine where you're going to go, when you see those people, it will be discouraging. It's naturally discouraging if it's a path you've never been on before, to see people endeavor to go on the same path as you and then have to tap out on it. So one of the things in the very beginning that I realized was I'm making it no matter what. So as we're hiking, I'm like, no matter what, I'm going to make it, okay? The other little sidebar is that we started later than we should have. When you get ready to take a big hike, you should start pretty early in the morning. We started in the afternoon, which meant that time was not on our side during this particular endeavor. So as we're hiking, we get a little past halfway and we get to the part where we're finally around the mountain and on our way. We can see our destination. And as we're heading to see our destination, you have this other group of people. There might be 4 groups now that I think about it. There's another group of people that cheer you on as you go. Hey, hi, good job. You're doing a great job. Keep going. The view up there is beautiful. These are people that are coming down. It's worth every bit of it. And you're like, all right, right? Those people are the people who don't see you as a threat on the journey. So in life, sometimes you have people that don't encourage you because they are so afraid of either you progressing further than them or you being able to have the same opportunities that they want to cut you short. And I saw that group of people who there were some people who just like gave you the grimacing face of, oh man, yeah, it's tough. And you're like, that's not what I need to hear right now. So when we got around, I would say maybe another hour out from our destination, we came around the corner and there were 3 people sitting on rocks. And it was a guy who looked like he was in relatively decent shape and 2 women, and he's sitting there, he's flush, and he's like, well, you guys, you're almost there, but it's straight uphill from here. And we're like, we've only been hiking for 2.5 hours. It's not what we wanted to hear, right? And so he goes, it's straight up here, hill from here. I turned around, it was too hard. And I'm like, okay, too hard for you. So we ended up going around and hiking further up. And then we bump into the most encouraging people. So as you begin to elevate, you have people who have tapped out at particular levels. But when you get close to the top, there are people who have made it. There are people who have seen it, and they are the people who are the absolute most encouraging. So we're at close to the top, maybe like 10-15 minutes out, and that's when people are like clapping, hey, good job, you're almost there, it's worth it. When you get up there, check out this, and you start hearing more of what you're getting ready to experience. So not just, hey, the view is beautiful, but then you have people saying, oh, there's pools of water, and there's a bridge, and if you walk on this side, you can get this view, and it's so beautiful. And so the people who have been to the top and who have made the journey have a different perspective than the people who have sat at the bottom or stopped halfway through their journey and didn't get to see it all the way through. Okay, so the last person, and this is kind of where I'll end, is the person who warns you about coming down from the mountain. I'm pretty sure a lot of you have had mountaintop experiences with your faith, with relationship, with just life in general. And mountaintop experiences are epic. There's no other term for them. The air is cleaner. The view is better. The people are less. The people have better attitudes because you've made it to your destination. And when you get to the mountaintop, you bask in it. You sit and you breathe in the air and you feel it. In life, it's also that same way. But the thing that comes after the mountaintop experience that nobody really ever warns you about is the descent. Because when we have our mountaintop experiences, especially in life, it is our responsibility to then take the trek back down the mountain and tell the other people who are on the journey about what we experience when we reach that point. That is the full circle experience of any great adventure, any great endeavor, and any mountaintop experience, whether it be physical mental, emotional. You need to share your experience and encourage other people who need to make it to that place, and you make it real. Something's not real until you really know somebody that's experienced it and they give you their experience, especially when it's positive. So ours came, our warning for our mountain descent came actually as we were heading up, and a young man stopped us and he said, hey, it's kind of late. You're almost up there. You know, you guys are doing a great job. He said, but do you have a flashlight? Whew. And we were like, no, we don't have a flashlight. And my friend's like, no, we'll make it down. It's fine. And I was a little leery around 3:30 because we've both hiked up there, but I've been up there, you know, in the night. And I know that when you're in higher elevation, darkness seems to come a little bit faster than when you're in the valley. That's a whole message. So as we're getting there, he goes, do you have a flashlight? No. He said, well, I made the mistake of coming up a little later, and I had to come back down. And when I was coming back down, it got dark on me and my phone was dying, and I had to use my flashlight on my phone. And so I could only use it in spurts. So, hey, you know, be careful, you know, as you're coming back down. We took it out I took it seriously. I believe my friend that I was hiking with took it seriously, but we thought we had more time. So anyways, we get to see it. We take all these great pictures. And as we're coming down the mountain, the wind is picking up a little bit. And mind you, we're at, I believe, I think when we looked at our tracker, we're about 5,000 feet elevation. So it's ridiculous. It's nothing nice. I think the actual peak, I think the whole trek was 5,000 feet, just going up and down. But I think the actual peak is about 3,000 feet elevation. And so it's windy, it's rocky, it's slippery, it's near a waterfall. So there's not a lot of water, but there was water. And so as we're coming down the mountain, the young man's warning comes to mind, because you see, going up, the destination is full of anticipation, and we don't see the dangers when we're heading up. But heading down, carrying a wealth of knowledge and experience, but also being fatigued, that is when the testing really comes. And if any of you have been on a spiritual journey, when we reach those heights and we have that experience, we know, and we should know, that that is the time when we are the most vulnerable and the adversary shows up. The adversary doesn't really have to work hard. And sometimes it's internal. It's not necessarily external, but speaking both ways, the adversary doesn't necessarily have to work hard when we are in our low points, because we do a good enough job of keeping ourselves low. It's when we reach places and peaks and elevation that the adversary turns into overtime, because he knows on the descent we are high in spirits, but getting to that place, it took a lot out of us. So as we're heading down, before the height, right, where you're going is behind you. So as you're climbing, you don't look back, because who looks back when they're making it toward a destination? But as you're heading down, all that you've overcome now is laid out before you. That is a very Hebraic picture. In the Hebrew language, the idea of the path or the future is not something that is in front of you, because the future is unknown, so you can't see it clearly. Hebraically, the future is behind you, right? And the past is in front of you, because it's all played out and you can see it clearly. So when you're coming down, you're seeing your past. You're seeing the things you slipped over coming up, the things that didn't necessarily look scary, but looking at them in hindsight, you're like, wow, I can't believe I overcame that. And so as we were coming down, the sun was beginning to set. Beautiful views. But the reality of the descent became real. The reality was real. And about halfway through our journey, still about a few thousand feet above where we were trying to get, climbing on a side of a mountain, we realized that the hardest part of our journey was not going up, but making it back down. And as we're climbing down, it gets dark and it activated everything. One of the other things I learned, and this is probably the most pivotal, is that the information that you put in may not be necessary on day-to-day basis that you put into your mind about everything. But glory be to the Elohim of heaven and earth that when situations get tough, that mindset and those thoughts and those truths activate. So as we're heading down, I had my phone, I turn on the flashlight. So using my phone as a flashlight. At first I started off walking in front, and we had to really, really cover a lot of space. My friend is going to kill me because, and I hope her mom doesn't watch this, because I'm in the doghouse for the end part of this trek, probably with my whole family, because it got really dangerous. And I'll spare the details to spare our families and mainly just my friend. But I will tell you this, it got intense. And the things that are out at night and the things that you have to activate in your mind, like you cannot panic. You cannot run, because we're on a path that's maybe less than 7 feet wide, maybe 10 at max. Smaller than one side of a road is what this path is going around this mountain, and it's a dead drop off on the other side. And so the truths about who you are, where you've been, and what you've been chosen to do come back full force. And for me, that experience was a very, very pivotal moment. It was something that I probably wouldn't have done knowing what we were going to do, but having to trust, having to put Psalm 119, 145 before my eyes, having to allow the, having to use all of these things, Psalm 119, 142, like bringing all these things into play and seeing Torah play out as instruction and not just law, and not just law and rules that are governing or keeping us from doing things, but things that save our life. For instance, I'll give you one that was very, very important. And you might not have thought about it like this, but the Torah, right? The law, right? The truth of rattlesnakes. The truth of rattlesnakes is when it gets dark, or all snakes in general, is that when it gets dark, snakes come out and they rest on rocks because the ground gets cool. They come onto the rocks because the rocks have been taking in the heat from the sun, and they rest up there. This truth was activated in the dark because I was using the light, right? I was using my hands and feeling and the flashlight as a guide. But it got dark, and when I say it's a treacherous hike, it is. So I was using the rocks as a guide to lean on, so I didn't have to lean toward the cliff. I didn't have to walk toward the cliff edge and worry about slipping. And as I'm using the rock, I think about it, and I turned around to my friend and I said, hey, at night, snakes come out. We saw a few coming up. We just need to be careful. Not even less than maybe 2 minutes later, I'm running my hand along a rock to use it as like my guide. And I hear the sound of a rattlesnake. I look up and the snake is like this far away from my hand. And can't panic, remember? We're on the side of a mountain. Can't scream, can't do anything. Slowly back away and respect the reality of what I've confronted. Those things are activated. That's life, that's Torah, that's obeying and keeping the law of something so that you don't end up dead, because there's no way I wouldn't have died if I would have gotten bitten being almost an hour or more away from my destination. If you don't know anything about venom, the more you move, the faster it spreads, gets to your heart, you're dead. It's that simple. And so learning that and knowing that about the truth and being on a path and knowing that I had to use the laws that I knew in order to stay alive, reiterated the fact that the laws that we are given by the Most High for life are not grievous. They are to keep us alive. We don't see all the dangers on the path. We can have the information about danger, but we don't see them all. The Father sees all the dangers on the path. He sees them all. And he gives us rules and laws and expectations that that keep us alive and out of danger and out of things that are going to cause us to slip off the path. And sometimes for some people, the slip off the path is irrecoverable. You can't unrecoverable. You can't recover from a slip, especially when you get high, like when you're up at high elevation. So the last part is on the way down, we're heading down, and my friend's singing all her songs. We're both in Torah. I think I should point that out. So it was a really awesome experience having somebody who not only was cool, calm, and collected, because we both were. We weren't panicking. We weren't crying. We weren't hysterical. We had each other. We knew what our where we were headed, and we knew that we could trust and depend on one another. Even to the point that at some point I led, and then it switched, and at some point she led. So we trusted each other enough to lead and guide, follow, to trust and submit to the path and the direction of the other person, which is super, super important. That scripture talks about, how can two people walk together unless they agree? There's one thing we agreed on, and that's what we were going to make it to the bottom. And we also agreed on how we were going to make it, and who and whose we were on the journey as we were headed out. And that's super important, to surround yourself not only on the journey. Some people fall off before you even get on the path. But while you're on the path, surrounding yourself with people who know their final destination and are confident in you and are confident in their final destination and your final destination, and are not going to leave you behind. Because, I mean, at that point, like, it was us. So as we were heading down, we didn't see any people heading down the mountain. That was pretty intense until like maybe toward the end. We saw a couple people who had like stopped, and I don't know if they were camping out, but they had stopped. And as we were getting closer to the bottom, you get to see like lights, right? And houses. And that was another, and then, well, I'll give you this. That was another important thing. We don't realize how important it is to shine our light until the moment when seeing somebody else's light, even in the distance, is the only hope you have that you're going to actually make it to your final destination. All right, so the last part of it was, as we're heading down, we saw another flashlight down in the distance. So we saw the lights from the people who were camping at the base camp in Yosemite Valley. But then we actually saw a light and a flashlight. And we saw those people making it down, and it was the sight of somebody who had been where we were and who was on their way down and who was doing it in the dark and was making it, that just relaxed all that wasn't relaxed at the time. And as we were walking, I was walking behind my friend, and I said, I just saw something that reminded me of Messiah, of HaMashiach. And it's that idea that somebody has not only been where you are, but is coming from where you are in the same conditions that you've been in. And you can see them in the distance, and they're making it to their destination. So if I can just keep doing what that person in front of me has done, I can make it also. And it's that idea that somebody has gone before me. And so this idea that we can tread out a path, because the path we went on was a well-treaded out path. But the fact that somebody had gone on the path before me and had made it to their final destination, at that time, my legs were done. All I had was will and determination, and the mind of perseverance. But when I saw the person before me with the light, I knew at that moment that if I kept my eyes on this path, that this path actually leads back where I'm supposed to arrive. And the same is true with a guide HaMashiach being the guide, walking out the path, being the light, being the word, being the path. If I stay on the path and know that somebody else made it to the expected end by taking this path, then I can also arrive at the expected end on this same exact path. So that's my little story from this weekend. I hope that encouraged you guys. Don't be afraid to go higher. And don't be afraid when you descend to share and to take it in and to reflect and then to encourage other people to get to those heights and do the same exact thing. We're on a journey. It's not a quick paced journey. It's not something that is going to be instant gratification. It's a path of enduring to the end. It's a path of enduring to the end. See you guys later.